Hello, good evening to our cherished viewers. It is another Saturday evening, the 7th day of August in the year of our Lord 2021. The Scoop is a disability-driven program that seeks to educate, empower, inform, and reform policies through policymakers and to help build an inclusive society for persons with disabilities in Ghana. On the Scoop show today, is Ms. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈. She is an educator, a rehabilitation specialist, and a lead consultant. Ms. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈 is very passionate about rehabilitation of persons with disabilities, intense in the issue of learning disabilities, developmental issues of children, parenting children with disabilities, and volunteering efforts aimed at creating awareness on issues of disability and rehabilitation, as well as eliminating stigmatization of the disabled amongst the general populace. Ms. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈 holds a Bachelor of Science degree and an MPhil degree in Disability and Rehabilitation Development from the 𝒂𝒈𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒔 University of Science and Technology. And she is currently the lead consultant of Livewell Rehab Consult, a private pediatric therapy consultancy, and a part-time lecturer at Withrow College. Ms. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈 enjoys reading and hanging out with adolescents and most especially helping children with intellectual disabilities. Ms. 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Nathan, and good evening to all our viewers. You are welcome to the show, and I'm 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈, as he introduced me earlier.
Fantastic. So for us today, we are talking about stigmatization, and I believe your profile highlighted stigmatization as one of the key areas that you try to focus on. So we would want to find out, can you kindly tell us a little bit about your profession, what you do?
Okay, so I'm 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈, as he introduced me earlier. A rehabilitation expert, now in the process of being a rehabilitation psychologist. I work basically with children, pedics in therapy, and I enjoy also teaching. So I teach as a part-time lecturer at Withrow College. About my profession, my consult is called Livewell Rehab Consult, and I'm the lead consultant for the consultancy. What we do is that we have different therapies. When I say different therapies, we have a behavioral therapist on board, we have a speech therapist, we have a child psychiatrist, we have clinical psychiatrists also, we have people into art therapy, music and dance. We all come together as a team to check on developmental challenges of these children. So we run a school, not basically a school, but this time we are running a rehab camp for these children, which is going for 3 weeks. So what we'll do is that we'll do a general assessment of the child when he or she comes in. Then the expert will know what type of therapy to place the child on. And me, my role in the consultancy is that I do rehabilitation counseling. So I talk to parents when it comes to, let me say, stigmatization, how people stigmatize mothers with children with such disabilities. I try to talk to them, counsel them, and tell them that this is a general problem of the world. It's not something that is really happening to them alone. People have children of the same kind who are suffering from the same issues. So we also start self-help groups and parent support group for these children. Then we do sensitizations and other things that will help the group. So that is basically what I do. Then I try to also take the stigma out. That is the most important thing, because parents are always worried about the stigma. When people see them with children of that nature, what they think about them, we try to take the stigma off so that they can focus on the therapy that these children need. So that is what basically I do.
Wow. Thank you, Ms. 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈. Yes. From what you said, I'm hearing stigmatization in it, and as the topic implies, we are going to talk about how we can deal with stigmatization against persons with disabilities. So when we talk of stigmatization, what is it? What is stigmatization in your own context?
So stigmatization is a sign of disgrace associated with a particular circumstances or a particular something that is equality. So maybe somebody is a physically disabled person and people start to stigmatize him. It's because of the physical disability. That is why people are stigmatizing him. Then we have maybe somebody with intellectual disability and people are stigmatizing that person. So that sign, that's something that is in quotes abnormal or unusual about that person. That is what is used to stigmatize the person when we talk about disabilities.
I see. So since we are looking at stigmatization, from what you said, people perceive the person having a physical challenge, and for that matter, they would stigmatize this kind of person. So how does it all happen? I mean, what is the motive behind it? Why stigma?
So why stigma? People stigmatize because there is something unusual. Let me say unusual because the society has created an environment to make these people uncomfortable in a way. So the main root cause of stigma is out of exclusion and discrimination. When we start to exclude people from activities. When I talk about exclusion, people of disabled people are normally excluded from maybe participating in games, skills training, job opportunities, employment, all those things they are excluded from it. So the moment that they are discriminated or excluded from it, it becomes the root cause of stigmatization. Because if you are disabled, let me say a hearing impaired person wants to contest, as Ivan Greenstreet was contesting for the presidency. You see the way people will say things about him. You, this man, in quote or unquote, you can't walk and you want to lead us. But it's not because of the physical disability. You don't have to stigmatize him because of his physical disability. So the main root cause of stigmatization is discrimination and exclusion.
Discrimination and exclusion.
Yes.
So talking about discrimination and exclusion. So we find these practices going on in so many public places, even in schools, in hospitals, places where it is for commercial use. Persons with disabilities get there and they are being discriminated or excluded from it. Do you think that some of the reasons could be positive in the sense that, for instance, some people are being excluded from participating in a particular activity because of their condition? Do you think that could be, a positive reason to that?
No, it's not a positive reason to excluding people because of their conditions. If you do that, then you are abusing their human rights. Because why should you treat somebody differently? No, we are all given the same opportunities. We have our capabilities and we have those things, the things that we can do. But then it shouldn't be basically based on your condition that we have to stigmatize or discriminate you from a particular activity. Did you get what I'm trying to say? So it's basically, it's not your condition. It shouldn't be based on your condition. That is the reason why people are discriminating or excluding you from an activity. And we always find people neglecting, abusing persons with disability, exploiting them because of their condition. It's something that we shouldn't do. They have their capabilities, so just allow them to do what they can do, but then don't stigmatize them or don't discriminate against them because of their condition.
I see. So diving deeper, what could be the types of stigmatization?
You said, okay, so the types of stigmatization. I will touch on two main types of stigmatization. I would touch on self-stigmatization and social stigmatization. The self-stigmatization is also known as internalization, which means that it's basically the person with the disability adopts negative beliefs about his or her disability and feels shameful or disgraced about it. So this one, it's the person, the disabled person herself feeling stigma, like feeling the stigma. So he or she feels that, oh, this because of my condition, people say this thing about me. This because of my condition, people discriminate against me. So this is basically deals with the person with the disability. Then we have social stigma, which is the negative belief or circumstance associated between people group because based on their disease or their circumstances. So you see people, other people stigmatizing persons with disability. So the main one, that's the two main stigmatization is the self stigma, which is done by the disabled person herself, and the social stigma, which is done by other people.
So in this case, talking about the types, self-stigma and social stigma. So let me ask some few questions concerning the self-stigma. So you mentioned that this is where an individual imposes this kind of beliefs on him or herself because of the disabling condition. To that effect, you think culture plays a major role in that, especially the settings of the person?
Yes. So in Ghana here, we have false assumptions about persons with disability. We have religious beliefs, we have cultural beliefs when it comes to persons with disability. Some people believe that if somebody is born in some cultures, people believe that if a person is born with disability, is out of a curse or maybe a generational something. That is why somebody is born with a disability. So in certain cultures, people stigmatize persons with disability based on their beliefs, based on the culture of the people. That is what people base to stigmatize them. Sometimes too, based on your religion, people can stigmatize you because they feel that this is abnormal. In our religious setting, if somebody is having this kind of disability, it means that it is a curse from God or whatever. So they tend to stigmatize those people. Then false assumptions, things that doesn't exist, and people think that, oh, because of this is happening to you. So these are some of the causes or things that people based on to stigmatize persons with disability.
I see. So in that context, we are looking at, so when someone, all these things, we are talking about a person with disability who is being stigmatized by society. Now, I believe that stigma also goes extra mile. It goes extra. Even the person involved cannot only be the one or cannot only be the victim, but the family as well. So we can see that stigmatization is really a problem with regards to making provisions for persons with disabilities in Ghana, especially making it a better place for them. Because society plays a major role in the lives of all of us, I believe.
Yes.
Right? So if we have someone who is being stigmatized, to what extent does this stigmatization get to the family?
Okay, so let me use myself as an example. I work with children who are on the spectrum, cerebral palsy, other related disabilities, with children having developmental disabilities. And people come to me and they are like, Akosia, these people are working with, you give birth to one of them. Then I'll ask them why. I said, oh, they feel that when you associate yourself with such people, that is what happens to you. So me, myself, sometimes I'm stigmatized because people feel that, why are you working with this group of people? But then it takes time for you to explain to them what exactly is happening on the ground. These are normal people just like that, as just that they are going through these challenges, and these are the help that they need. So the society goes a very long way of stigmatizing even people who work with disabled people. Not that the persons, those disabled people alone, but then we even work with them, people still stigmatize us. So stigmatization goes beyond you, the disabled person, but then our society is not really aware of issues of disability. For me, that's how I feel. They are not really aware of issues of disability, and they don't even understand what is happening. So they intend to stigmatize disabled person and every person who is around people with disability. That is what happens. So it goes a very long way. There are ways that we have to use to tackle these stigmas. We have to really look at it from a different way by taking off the self-stigma that is adapted by these disabled people, and also the social stigma that is done by the society.
Wow, fantastic. So in that case, from your submission, you mentioned some of the root cause of stigmatization against persons with disabilities. So in that case, the root cause, how do we deal with that? If we are saying that stigma, the root cause of stigmatization, how do we deal with that? In your own expertise, what do you think we can do?
For me, and what I've been doing so far, I think that we should tackle stigmatization in these areas. One, we should start widening our education on disability issues. People should understand what disability is about. We should sensitize people, give more information about disability using the mass media, the marketplace, the church, everywhere we can see a group of people, individuals. We should talk about disability issues. Then also we should also be doing skills training. When I say skills training, disabled persons themselves should be empowered so that they can have a source of livelihood. They won't be dependent on other people. Like you see blind men begging in the traffic, wheelchair users always begging. If these people have some kind of training that give them some source of livelihood, I think we can also help to take the stigma of these people. Because if you are a disabled person and you have your own shop that you produce footwear, nobody can stigmatize you. You are respected because you are not dependent on anybody. Then we can also talk about staff training. When I say staff training, people who work directly with persons with disabilities. I can mention my consults that we work directly with persons with disability. We try as much as possible not to stigmatize parents or anybody who comes around us. People who work directly like Sight Savers, Ghana, World Vision, those people should be given more information when it comes to people with disability so that they don't do the exclusion. They always include them in developmental issues. They take their issues at heart as if they are non-disabled and try to help them in any way they can do. Then I will also speak about self-help groups. As I said earlier, I have a parent support group which we try to motivate parents, tackle stigmatization by giving them more information about their children's disability and what are the ways that they can help their children to come out or to manage their disabilities. So if we have peer groups, we have parent support groups, we have skills training groups, which all this information are given, at least the stigmatization will be off. We'll be able to tackle stigmatization. Then we can also talk about alliance, building solidarity with other disabled societies. So maybe the physically disabled building alliance with the deaf family or the hearing impaired family, building alliance with person with visual impairment. So you see that when you come to Ghana, they have a bigger family called the GFD, which is a consolidation of all disability group, which is a mother group that they all build alliance from that group. So even if you're having a challenge with maybe Ghana Blind Union, you can talk to the Ghana Federation of the Disability and they can help you in a way. So building alliance can also help us to take the stigma off. And when they go for their meetings, or maybe let me say during the district common fund, whatever, when they come in, the mother body GFD is always there to shelter all these people for them to get even their district common their fund that has been coming to them. So alliance is also very important when it comes to eradicating or taking off stigma when it comes to people with disability. So these are some of the things that we can look at when taking or tackling issues of stigma in terms of disabled.
Wow. So you have really spoken very well on this topic. But then we also want to consider the level at which stigma, sets in. I believe that we have also noticed that there are, when we take a man and a woman, for instance, a man and a woman, you see that the severity of the disability, of the disabling condition, determines how the stigma is going to be like. So for instance, let me give you someone with cerebral palsy and someone who uses a wheelchair. For instance, these two category groups, let's say a mother and then a father. The mother or a woman has cerebral palsy. Maybe the child, the lady is drooling, the lady is not able to walk, she's using a wheelchair, and etc. And we have a man who is using crutches. That is it. He's using crutches. Now, you mentioned that the way by which we can deal with this stigma is by making sure that they have livelihood, right? They have livelihood. So in that case, do you think that the stigmatization can be based on the severity of the condition?
Yes. So as you said, stigmatization can be based on the severity of the condition. Let me say maybe somebody with cerebral palsy, as you mentioned, maybe having a multiple disability. When I say multiple, not one, but then he has a physical issue. He has issue with maybe the intellect is not too intact. He has a problem with occupation, fine and gross motor skills, and other issues. Yes, it depends on the severity, but then in any way that person is disabled, no matter if it's multiple or it's single. But basically, people based on the severity of the condition to stigmatize you, especially when it comes to issue of cerebral palsy. Parents are so worried when children come in with such conditions because they don't know what to do with them. And you see how cerebral palsy is, the child is having problem with mobility, and the parent has to maybe put the child in a wheelchair, move him or her around. Sometimes you see them, somebody will be on the spectrum, but then the child can walk. The mother is just okay because the child can be moving around. But then when it comes to multiple disability, it becomes very difficult for parents to handle people of such nature. That is why the society intends to stigmatize those people more than people with single disabilities. So the severity really, really counts. It really, really counts. But then, as I said earlier, that we have to always be tackling the stigma. We have to work on it. It doesn't matter if it's one, if it's two, the person is still disabled. So why do you have to stigmatize him based on the severity of the condition?
So talking about stigmatization, what do you think would be the ramification or what impact do you think stigmatization can have on an individual? For instance, the effects of stigma.
Yes, there are so many effects of stigma. Because of stigma, people are discriminated against. They are excluded. Let me put it in a simple form. Maybe me, an able person looking for a job, and maybe an hearing impaired man also looking for a job. If that person doesn't really understand the issues of disability, it will be very difficult for that deaf man getting employment. When it comes to skills training, I do skills training for persons with disability. There are many hubs who are into entrepreneurship, mentorship, coaching, whatever. But you find out that these people don't include persons with disability. So they will run the mentorship program. There is no sign language interpreter at the program. The program is just directed to able people. But then you should also note that there are people with disabilities or different conditions who would love to attend those mentorship, whatever programs that is going on. But because there is no sign language interpreter, because there is no brailing at the event, that after the event, the person can go back and read, that person tend not to be part of the skills training avenue. Then we can also talk about people being excluded from health issues. I did a topic during my MCO thesis. I did assessment to reproductive health services, experiences of women with visually and mobility impairment. And through the study, I realized that women with disabilities are stigmatized, especially like my area of study. A visually impaired woman told me that she had a child because she couldn't see. I think the umbilical cord or something wasn't cut very well. The nurses didn't give her the information to whatever was going on with the child. She came back and the child died.
Wow.
Yes, and the child died. Somebody gave me a real scenario that she was a wheelchair user. She went to the hospital to give birth, and the woman said, "Why you won't sign Jane?" So because of the condition, the person wants to say that she can't give birth or she can't get access to reproductive health. So it's an effect. So if because of my condition you think I shouldn't give birth, why? It doesn't have anything to do with my reproductive health. But because of these issues, it becomes an effect. Health issues, education, even education. In my university that I attended, a typical example like KNUST, now they've been able to introduce sign language into medical programs that people have started learning sign language, medical students, laboratory technicians, and disability nursing. They are now doing sign language. But imagine if you are at KNUST and you are a deaf man, you can't access the university. There is no intervention for persons with visual impairment or hearing impairment. You have to go to Winneba. But then the person should be given an opportunity and a preference. If I want to attend KNUST, it shouldn't be based on my condition that I can't, because I'm a deaf or blind man, I can't attend KNUST. So these people are discriminated against when it comes to education. And they are not even there are no logistics to support them, so they can't even come there. So they are sometimes excluded from education, and this can lead to loss of hope. They are hopeless, like hopelessness. They feel that, so because of my condition, I can't have this. I work, as I said, I work with these children, and a man came in with a deaf child, and he was like, "What can I do with this child?" And I said, you can just get him assessment and send him to a deaf school, and he can go through the basic, go to SHS and go to the university. She was like, really? And I said, yes, because it's not because of the deafness he can't attend school. And this man didn't have any information when it comes to deaf or hearing impairment issues. You get my point. So sometimes our educational system and the way we deal with disabled people, or lack of sensitizations, people tend to do these things to disabled people. Then they are isolated. They feel that they are discriminated against, so they can't be in the public sector or in the public area. Maybe having children with intellectual disability. I used to work with a school which was basically into intellectual disabilities, and these children are so isolated. Even it was a normal stream school, but then they had a special school attached to the mainstream or the normal stream, and the other children from the normal stream didn't even want to play with them.
Wow.
Because they were intellectually disabled. So sometimes isolation also becomes a problem for these people. And families, they tend not to understand persons with disability. They tend not to understand persons with disability because you are already stigmatized by the society. So maybe a disabled person telling you he or she wants to go into arts or something, a parent will be like, why do you want to go to art? Go to maybe when you go and do education and go and teach the same group that you are in, you can find people of that nature and teach them. So they tend not to be understood by their parents or their family, and they tend not to also have choice. So these are some of the effects of stigmatization.
Wow. Wow, that is, you have spoken extensively on the effects of stigmatization against persons with disabilities. That is really good. Are there laws that can help to mitigate this kind of practice among the Ghanaian society?
Well, in Ghana here, there are no laws. There are no laws. We are expecting that they will pass the Disability Act, which would cover this group of people. But up till now, there has not. It still remains a bill. So it has not been passed that we will say, oh, there are these laws that protect persons with disability. So there are no laws. People just stigmatize against them just like that without being like facing any legal issues or whatever. You can just do whatever you want to do. But then there are issues like rape. Let me use rape as an example. If you rape a child with mental who is mentally disabled, even if you rape a normal child, you have an issue. But then if you rape a child with mental disability, is a different issue altogether. Let me give you a scenario. A child used to attend an intellectual disabled school, which I don't want to mention, and this child closed from school. The one who was expected to pick her up that day didn't show up. So she went to the station to pick a car. And because she is intellectually disabled, she had a challenge of like getting access to the vehicle and whatever. A guy who is a tricycle rider realized that the child was lost in the middle of something. So he approached the girl and asked her, "What do you want?" The girl said, "I want to go home." Said, "Oh, I'll send you home." So the child put him in the tricycle and sent him somewhere to rape the girl.
Oh my goodness.
This is a girl who is just 11 years old. 11 years old. And because there are no strong laws backing these people just walk scot-free. 11-year-old girl. Later, because the child was intellectually disabled, she couldn't really identify the guy. We reported the case, Joe, but then the lady couldn't really identify the boy. We had to go through a whole process. We had to do a medical examination, get other things, test her for after 6 months for HIV, pregnancy, and other stuff. So I think, to my opinion, I think that we should speak up to get laws backing persons with disability. People just abuse them. They just abuse them anyhow because some of them can't speak for themselves, especially people with mental issues.
Wow. This is really a very big issue. It's really a very big issue.
It's a very big issue.
Yeah. The reason is that I know Ghana has signed a lot of international, instruments, international, something like the UNCRPD, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the Universal Declaration, all these things. Ghana has signed this treaty or whatever it is called. Then the disability law itself is also not being implemented, like you said.
Yes.
It's not implemented. So I believe that there is a gap in terms of implementation. That is how come people are able to, rape vulnerable groups such as the person that you mentioned and go scot-free.
Yes.
And go scot-free.
Go scot-free, but nothing happens to him.
You know, and it is something that you cannot do in the United States. You can't do this in the developed countries.
No. You can't do this in a
You see,
developed country.
and it is really a problem. It is really, really a problem. It's very, very a problem. And you know,
Yes.
I've also realized that, like you mentioned in your submission, that parents are being stigmatized even at the hospital.
Yes.
Right? Nurses are not educated on disability
No,
issues.
let me bring this in. When I did the research, I realized that even knowledge of nurses or healthcare providers on disability is zero.
Wow.
There is no particular course in their health, whatever curriculum, which specifically teach them about disabled people. Some of them learn it through training and public sensitizations, but then in their program, there is no design program like maybe Introduction to Disability, which teaches them that, okay, there are these group of people who are also part of us that we have to treat them the same way we treat any other person who visits the facility. There are no education on such issues. So even if you ask her, what do you know about disability? The person will tell you, meaning say this and this and this and this, but then giving you the right definition and what exactly is expected of her as a healthcare provider. No. No. So even when it comes to reproductive health, let me even bring something like menstrual hygiene. Educating people with intellectual disability when it comes to menstrual hygiene. They go to schools to do sensitizations on menstrual hygiene, but they don't visit the intellectual disabled schools on menstrual hygiene.
Wow. Yeah.
But then the intellectual disabled schools are there to train these children with basic skills. And if you do a sensitization program on menstrual hygiene and you don't visit an intellectual disabled school, why? You are stigmatizing them. They will tell you about these people. Can we talk to them? Yes, we the teachers that we deal with them every day. We give them instructions and they follow. So these are some of the issues. It goes a long way. There are so many issues of stigmatizations that people are not able to come up and speak about it. But then if you do individual observation or you meet the people and you talk to them on private basis, the things they tell you on daily basis, some are very shocking. They are so shocking. The way people stigmatize against them, even when they are seeking for therapy and other things, it's serious. And I must say that in our local setting in Ghana here, I think we should train more rehabilitation psychologists so that they can take these issues up in dealing with parents with children with disability, the disabled people themselves, an organization which works with persons with disability or the general populace. It will really, really, really go a long way.
Great. And adding to what you said, I believe stigmatization can even lead to death, can lead people to commit suicide.
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
It is really a big problem.
It's a very big issue. It's a very big, broad issue.
Very, very big issue. And I think that all our problems is centered on stigmatization.
Yes.
When it comes to
disability. Yes, when it comes to disability, our main problem is stigmatization.
Because if that one is dealt with, all other things, are going to fall in place.
Can you come again?
If stigmatization is dealt with, all other things will fall in place.
Yes, if stigmatization is dealt with, all other things will fall in place. As I said earlier, that skills training, if it's not because of stigmatization, which is like exclusion and discrimination, these people will be included in whatever, and they will also learn skills that will improve on their livelihood. But then if they are stigmatized against, how can they enroll on such programs? If they are excluded or discriminated against when it comes to education, how can these people enter Education. You get it?
Yeah.
Yes. When they
Yeah.
are stigmatized again, when they start looking for job opportunities, how can they get jobs?
Fantastic. That's good. So let's take some few comments coming from our viewers.
Okay.
So if you are watching us, this is the Scoop Show. It is proudly brought to you by Disability and Rehabilitation Association of Ghana, DARAC. So if you are watching us on Facebook, kindly like, share, and then invite others to watch. So this is coming from Pat Barnes. She says that assuming a person with disability stigmatizes him or herself, what will you do as a rehab professional to take out the negative thinking? In other words, how can him be empowered?
Okay, thank you very much. As I said in my previous submission, that there should be a lot of rehabilitation psychologists in the system. The role of the rehabilitation psychologist is to help the disabled or any person with chronic or whatever disease to deal with the disease as it is. So maybe you come to me, you are let me put it, a hearing impaired person that you want to maybe go on a therapy, or maybe you are a speech impaired person, you want to do a therapy. The first thing I have to tell you is that I have to make you aware of your condition. What exactly is happening to you? Then what are the interventions that is available for you? Then after, I will tell you that, okay, this is a common condition that is going all over the world. You are not the first person to be a hearing or speech impaired person. So please take the negative thought or the negative thinking out of your mind. Let's focus on the therapy or the interventions that we can do to help you. And let's start something. And you should be able to counsel the person so that whatever thought, whatever emotion, stress that the person is going through, at least he or she will calm down, then accept the issue as it is, and then know the interventions available to help him or her to overcome the disability or manage or deal with the disability appropriately.
Okay, so this is also coming from Efia Melfi. My name is Erica, please. My question is, what are the steps you take to address the issue of a person with disability who is being stigmatized by the family and community?
Okay, so she is talking about social stigma. And as I said earlier, social stigma can be taken out through sensitization or public education. Yes. The reason being that people have to educate their family members on issues of rehabilitation or disability for them to understand very well. If they don't understand, they will still continue to stigmatize you. So it's a matter of getting these family members to understand what is happening, what exactly the problem is, so that they will understand your condition and they will know they will understand why they shouldn't stigmatize you with your condition. So as I said earlier, stigmatization is a very big issue. We need to educate people. We need to do a lot, create a lot of awareness when it comes to issues of disability, so that people, the general populace, will understand issues of disability, so that they won't stigmatize persons with disability. So one of the main ways that we can address issues of persons with disability is through awareness creation.
Awareness creation. Okay, so this is coming from the same person. So, wow, such an interesting topic. God bless you guys for the great job done. Okay, this also from Padvance. I'm enjoying this show. This also from Foster Mensah. Big problem in Ghana. Yeah, we acknowledge that. That is a very big problem. This also from Abakan Isaac. Very serious.
Very serious, very serious. It's a very serious problem.
We also have,
very serious.
yeah. So this, I think, a contribution. The knowledge of nurses. This is Ajua 𝐻𝐬𝐀𝐤𝐨𝒐𝒑, the knowledge of nurses on disability is really zero. I have witnessed a nurse discriminating a person with hearing impairment who came from their facility.
So, Nathan, let me speak on this very particular issue. Hearing impaired people, it's obvious that when you go to health facilities, there are no sign language interpreters.
Wow.
Nobody has, like, people are not really thinking about this thing. So a deaf man walks into a health facility and he or she can't communicate what is wrong with him to the doctor. The doctor herself doesn't know anything about sign language. So it means that this man will be there. Just so if the person is not educated that he or she can write, how does this person communicate a problem to the doctor? I went to, let me use this. I went to Jamase, which has a deaf school, Ashanti school for the deaf. I visited Pope John Paul Health Center. It's a hospital, a school that has a community that has a deaf community in their community. Doesn't have a sign language interpreter at the hospital.
Wow.
Do you get it? A deaf community, Ashanti school for the deaf, a big hospital in Jamase. Pope John Paul doesn't have a sign language interpreter at their facility.
Wow.
And this school has about, let me say, no less than 200 students who are deaf, who visit the facility on a regular basis. So how do these people communicate with the doctors and the health service providers?
Yeah. It's also another thing. Wow.
It's a very big issue when it comes to.
So, Abaka Isaac, so going forward, what can the GFD do in the passage of the Disability Act?
I think GFD has to do something. GFD has to do something. GFD has to do something. Yes, I will say again, GFD has to do something. Everybody who is part of GFD is disabled. You cannot be part of GFD if you are not disabled. So why do you sit there up till now? You have top hierarchy, president or whatever, and we can't speak up for this bill to be passed or this law to be passed into a law. Why? People are still building tall buildings in Ghana here, and they don't think of getting ramps. People are building commercial facilities, and you go there and there is no ramp.
Even the schools,
I don't want to mention
that are even teaching disability and rehabilitation. Some schools like this, they don't even have ramps or elevators in the school.
Yes, you go to the ministry, like visit a ministry, and you realize that they are on top, like it's a story building, and there is no ramp in the story building. There is no lift. And how do a whole ministry? How do you expect somebody who is disabled to access the place? You are discriminating against that person from accessing the facility. So issues of stigmatization, it's broad. It's a big issue. It's a big issue that we have to, the advocates or persons that works directly with persons with disability should start really making a lot of noise about it, so that those in charge can hear us, then do something or like pass the bill into a law, so we get these people protected.
Yeah, that's so right. So could you, and I think we can also extend that to transportation, right? Transportation. Yes. It's also very key. Transportation.
Yes, transportation still. See, when you are a wheelchair user or you are use a crutches, if you don't get the front seat, look at how these people struggle to get public transport.
I tell you.
Sometimes the driver will see you and wouldn't even try to pick you.
Pick you. Oh yeah.
They wouldn't even mind you. 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 They won't even look at you. The moment they see your crutches or your wheelchair, they say, oh, go. The mate will tell the driver, oh yeah, go. Because he doesn't even want to stop and you say, oh, please, I want to board the car, help me with my wheelchair. No. The mate is not even ready to do that.
So
it goes a long way to affect our health systems, our transportation, our homes, public sectors, education, everywhere. These people are still building public places, one-story buildings, no lift, no ramps.
And it is high time they need to involve, any ministry that is in charge of buildings. Make sure that so far as, in some parts in the Act 715, the Disability Act, there is a portion that says that every public facility must be accessible.
Yes.
By persons with disabilities.
Yes.
And I am very sure that quite a lot of people are not aware of even the act, even the disabled people.
No, they are not even aware of the act.
Even the disabled people themselves, they don't even know of the act.
Yes.
So you can see that we really have a big work to do, a very big work to do. So wrapping up, I would want you to touch on the measures that you mentioned before concerning how we will deal with stigmatization against persons with disabilities before we come to the end of this.
So in conclusion, I would say that it is very important for us not to stigmatize against persons with disability, in the sense that we placed culture, religious, false beliefs, then we stigmatize against these people. But then we shouldn't, because persons with disability are normal as we are, but because of the structure of the society, we've labeled them in such a way that they are discriminated and stigmatized against. So in wrapping up, I will say that we should always be raising awareness, creating awareness on issues of disability and issues of stigmatization when it comes to persons with disability. And also we should set up self-help groups which will help to motivate these people, give them more information about their disability and tackle issues of stigmatization. I would also touch on staff training. People who are in different organizations who come into contact with persons with disability should be given more information about persons with disability. They should also understand what the disability is and what they can also do in helping these people. Then I will talk about disabled people themselves building alliance with other disabled organizations so that they can build solidarity with them. Then I can also talk about skills. Yes, I've mentioned skills training. So these are some of the things that we can do. We can also have positive attitude towards persons with disability. Then we can also stop stigmatizing against them. Then we should also work so hard that policies, programs, and other initiatives that are yet to be introduced into our system and the existing ones should be done in such a way that they will favor or not stigmatize against persons with disability. Thank you.
Fantastic. So, Ms. Akosua, if someone wants to get in touch with you, where are you located and your telephone number, please?
Okay. So Livewell Rehab Consult is currently located in Kumasi, and our office, we have one office at Edum around 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈 Presbyterian Church in the a story building just opposite the 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈 Presbyterian Church. And our center is also located at Atonsu High Tension. And if you want to get to us, you can reach us on 0262 075112. And maybe you can also, yes, you can try 0549 807 606 if you have any issue concerning developmental challenges or whatever, any issue related to disability. You just come and speak to us and we'll find the best way in helping you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Miss Akosha, we are very grateful for having you on the show. In fact, it has been an educative, program. People from the comments, we can tell that people are really enjoying it. And of course, we would also want to engage you some other time for more of such programs. Yes, you wanted to say something?
Yes, thank you very much, Derek, for giving me this opportunity. I'm so pleased with it. Thank you so much for allowing me on your show. I'm so grateful.
We are very happy and thank you and have a good evening.
Okay.
Okay, so if you are watching us on Facebook, this is The Scoop. It is proudly supported by Disability and Rehabilitation Association of Ghana. Please, if you are watching us live on Facebook, we would like you to like our page, share the videos that you have watched so far, and you can go to our YouTube channel at Disability and Rehabilitation Association of Ghana. Like our page, and we shall meet again same time next week, God willing. Have a blessed evening.